Now you can hear me. All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order our zoning meeting for the Lee County Board of County Commissioners. It is Wednesday, August 5th, 2020. Let's begin this morning with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, I see 5 cases this morning, so I'll go ahead and ask our staff to introduce the first one.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you.
For the record, my name is Anthony Rodriguez. I'm a principal planner with the zoning section of the Department of Community Development. Our first case this morning is REZ 2019-00025, Seaward Rezone. This is a request to rezone approximately 1.69 acres from commercial plan development, CPD, to residential RS1. Property is located at the southeast corner of Coco Sable Lane and Xander Lane in the South Fort Myers planning community. The hearing examiner recommended approval, and there were no participants of record. Staff is available to answer any questions.
Very good. Commissioners, any questions on this one?
Chairman, I move the item, the hearing examiner's recommendations.
All right, we have a motion for approval from Commissioner Pendergrass and a second from Commissioner Sandelli. We have no participants of record. Does the applicant wish to say anything? You're okay? Thank you very much. All right, then at this time we'll consider the motion that's on the floor. Do we have any further discussion? Any objection? No objection. That motion carries unanimously.
Good work, Anthony.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving right along, next case this morning is case number REZ 2020-00001, 13140 Metro Parkway. This is a request to rezone approximately 2 acres from light industrial IL to commercial C2. The property is located at 13140 Metro Parkway, just north of Daniels. The hearing examiner recommended approval of this case, and there were no participants of record.
Excellent. Commissioners, any questions for our staff on this one? No? All right. We have no participants of record. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation?
You want to make a motion? I'll hold the hearing
I make a motion on the hearing examiner's recommendation.
All right, so we have a motion for approval from Commissioner Pendergrass, second from Commissioner Sandelli. Anything you'd like to say, applicant? No? Okay. Any further discussion, commissioners? All right, seeing none, are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously.
Right.
All right, the next case.
Next case this morning is REZ 2020-00002, 16561 McGregor Rezone. This is a request to rezone approximately 0.4 acres from mobile home residential, MH1, to neighborhood commercial, CN3. The hearing examiner recommended approval with conditions. The property is located at 16561 McGregor Boulevard in the Iona-McGregor planning community. No participants of record on this case, and staff is available to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners, on this one? All right. Seeing none, I have no participants of record. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation? Okay. All right. At this time, then, commissioners, I'll ask, do we have a motion?
I move the item based upon the hearing examiner's recommendations.
Okay. Motion for approval from Commissioner Pendergrass and the second from Commissioner Sandelli. Any further discussion? Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. All right. Next item.
Next case this morning is DCI 2019-00017, Palm Point Shops Mixed Use Plan Development. This is a request to amend zoning resolution Z-05-070 to increase the number of residential dwelling units from 50 to 280, reduce the area of commercial uses from 239,000 square feet to 100,000 square feet, and to modify the approved schedule of uses and property development regulations. The hearing examiner recommended approval with conditions. There were no participants of record, and just as a matter of course, there was a corrective memorandum submitted on this case dated July 22nd, 2020, recommending modifications to 2 conditions. The first is relative to the schedule of uses and fast food restaurants to memorialize an existing condition within the partially developed development. And the second is a modification to the condition 2B relative to building separation to address building separation between particular buildings as shown on the master concept plan, and also to note that the building separation requirements apply only to principal structures. The hearing examiner in her recommendation noted that if staff and the applicant were in agreement with conditions as modified at the board hearing, that there was no objection to that, and staff and the applicant are in agreement with the modifications as shown in the corrective memo.
Okay, excellent. So in the motion for approval, we should include the memo
Yes, please.
that is outlined by the staff. Okay, very good. We have no participants of record on this case. Any questions, Commissioner?
question.
Commissioner Mann?
Did you do a comparison of the trips generated by the existing zoning as opposed to what's asked to be changed here?
Yes, we did, and that's the reason that our commercial square footage is decreasing, is to offset the increase proposed in the residential units. So
So
that the
it's
trip
what,
generation.
essentially the same?
Correct.
Thank you.
Good deal. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, we have no participants. Does the applicant wish to make a proposal on this one? Oh, okay, very good. Do we have a motion, Commissioners?
I move that item, the hearing examiner's recommendation, along with the memo from staff, and I hope this will help that infill of that project too. There's some great new businesses in that area. It's kind of bringing that area of 41 back up to life there. So thank you for doing business there. So you can pass that on to the owners.
Excellent. Commissioner Pendergrass makes the motion for approval inclusive of the staff's memo. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Sandelli. Very good. Any further discussion then on that? All right, seeing no further discussion, are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Our second to last case this morning is case number REZ 2019-00017, Lills Lane Conventional Rezone. This is a request to rezone approximately 1.92 acres from agricultural, AG2, to two-family residential, TF1. Property is located on the south side of Tice Street, just north of the Cypress Trail RV Resort. The hearing examiner recommended approval, and again, no participants of record on this case. And staff is available to answer any questions.
Very good. What questions do we have, Commissioners?
I'll move it.
Okay, motion for approval from Commissioner Mann. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Pendergrass.
Sandelli.
All right. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation? You're very good. All right. At this time, seeing no participants of record, then I'll call the question. Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. All right, and our final case for today.
Final case this morning is Portofino Vineyards, case number DRI 2019-00003. This is an amendment to the Villages of San Carlos Development of Regional Impact, most recently adopted by Zoning Resolution Z-17-001, as well as the Master Development Plan pursuant to Florida statutes, to allow single-family dwelling units on tracts B, C, D, and E, which are shown on your screen above, where only multifamily dwelling units are currently permitted, to allocate 25.24 acres of this tract to single-family land uses for a maximum of 106 single-family dwelling units, and to include a corresponding reduction in the multiple family acreage from 76.12 acres to 50.88 acres, and a reduction in the number of multifamily dwelling units from 1,170 to 926, to amend Exhibit C, which are the land use parameters, to reduce the total number of residential dwelling units and acreage from 2,500 to 2,362, which is shown on your screen here. And also to amend Exhibit B, the land use table and phasing schedule, to update the build-out date for Phase 2 from December 31st, 2020 to December 31st, 2031. This was heard by the hearing examiner, and staff and the hearing examiner both recommended approval of the request. Again, as a matter of course, there is a corrective memorandum attached to the zoning packet for this hearing, noting that the hearing examiner recommendation included an older version of DRI Map H Sheet C1. The correct version was submitted on March 30th, 2020, and should be included in any motion. Otherwise, staff is here to answer any questions, and this hearing is open to the public.
So the correct motion would be for approval, including the new master concept plan? Is that what that's called?
Including the updated Sheet C1 of Map H,
Okay.
which is the DRI.
You could say staff recommendation is outlined by our staff.
Yeah. When I
And
get
the
around to it.
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner. You have a question?
I do. Look, my brain wasn't receiving as fast as you were transmitting. Would you simplify for me an understanding of this DRI process as opposed to normal zoning? We don't do this every other Wednesday.
Can I defer to the county attorney to clarify?
Sure. The process was set forth when state statutes changed to get rid of the DRI process as we used to know them. One of those processes that we've done in the past involves whether or not there's a substantial change. If there's a substantial change to the DRI, and what the analysis under state statute was to determine that. What we've done in this case is determined that there are no substantial changes, but just to back up a step, state law has changed yet again to where that process no longer exists, but our land development code still has that language that requires this step. So the hearing examiner made a recommendation, staff reviewed it, find that there's not a substantial change, and the board makes the final determination on that process as it sits today.
But now any public can speak whether or not they appeared in any previous hearing,
Correct.
and that's because...
It comes directly to you under our process. There's not a formal hearing before the hearing examiner.
The recommendation then comes from staff.
Staff has a recommendation, and the process that we set up back when the process existed under state statute was to have the hearing examiner make a recommendation without a public hearing. To give the board another party to say, okay, this meets the statute where you don't have to have a substantial change, and then the board can hear it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a little different than what we normally do, and I like to learn a little something every day.
I agree. Thanks, Commissioner Mann. All right, any further questions? All right. At this time, since this one is open to the public, I'd like to call for public comment. Does anybody wish to speak in public comment on this case, the Portofino Vineyards? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comment. Commissioners, do we have a motion?
Sure.
Okay, motion for approval from Commissioner Mann as outlined by our staff, including the memo and the new sheet and everything that they explained. And then do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Sandelli. Very good. All right, any further discussion on this item?
I just wanted clarification. There is less density now in this plan as opposed to before, correct?
Correct.
I went through a couple different iterations in there, and I just want to make sure that that was moving in that direction. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Any further questions? All right. Seeing no further questions or discussion, I'll call the question. Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. And there's no other business before us. So if there's no objection, we're adjourned.